off your television sets. Turn them off now. Turn them off right now. Turn them off and leave them off. Turn them off right in the middle of the sentence I'm speaking to you now. Turn them off.
Greetings, refiners. Welcome to yet another recap of Severance. This is episode 7, Chikhai Bardo. I can't believe we're on episode 7 already, but here we are. Since it's no longer Black History Month, I feel confident going to Joe first. Joe, how's it going, man? How are you doing?
I feel so much better knowing that some of the theories that I've seen on Reddit have been killed with this episode.
Yes.
I feel so much better about the direction of where everything is kind of going towards the end of the season.
Yeah, I feel good because I love theories. I love to see what other people thinking, but some of them are stupid. So once again, we got to trust Kier's wise in hand to know that we're on the right path. There is one that I've been hinting at though that I will bring up at the end of the episode, and Joel, you actually kind of touched on it in our group chat. I will bring it up at the end of the episode because I now think it might be in play. But D, how's it going? How are you doing on March 1st, 2025?
March 1st, which is also International Women's Month. Is that March 1st you're referring to? That one? That one? Just curious if that's the March 1st you meant. Because I'm doing great.
James. Happy International Women's Month. Yeah.
Happy. Look at you. See, LeBron tried to put you on game and you forgot anyway. I am doing great. Thanks for asking. This was definitely a watch twice episode for sure. Mm-hmm. I missed so much the first time because I was just kind of taking it in and I didn't even realize what I was missing. I wanted to question though, do y'all think that's I know that some people are casual viewers. That's not it's not the creator or the director or the writer's choice in how people consume their media. But do you think it's possible to put too many Easter eggs in an episode? Or is it something you look forward to?
Let me answer your question. Let me answer your question because I will tie this in with the theories. So this is why whenever we've recapped shows, the shows I gravitate towards are shows that kind of teach you in the first or second episode how to watch this show. So I think with Severance, although it's a mystery, when you're given something, they don't kind of make you question it. Even though there are things that are revealed later, they make you know for sure this is something you're watching. But there are a lot of people out there who question everything. The most ridiculous thing I saw was people questioning the coffee in the break room. I'm like, no, they're just drinking coffee. So I think there is a such thing as too many Easter eggs, but the way it was done in this episode was a bit of a payoff because it was in direct correlation of things. So basically a lot of things you saw in this episode, you could point to something and be like, oh yeah, that's the thing that I saw. So So yeah, to answer your question, yeah, there can be a such thing as too many Easter eggs, but when it's executed in this way, I don't think it's an issue.
I agree.
When the payoff is great with the Easter eggs, I think that allows it to be okay. It's okay to put a few in here, but if it's just some BS, calling back to an episode that didn't there was nothing to it. It's okay, now you're just trying to be fancy.
Yeah,
but
you're showing out.
There was a few in this episode that are direct, and the one that we're going to talk about with the doctor is a correlation within the episode. So I think that they're playing it really safe sometimes with it.
They did quite a few correlations within the episode. So I'm with y'all. I think it was the way they did, again, off my second view. And I'm like, oh, well, that was cool. That was neat. Okay, I missed that the first time, but that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so I want to, obviously, we all love this episode. That's no secret. We don't even have to state it, but I want to give props to the director. She's actually the cinematographer for the show, Jessica Lee Gagne. Sorry, my French sucks. Sorry. But I've kind of like known about her for a minute because like I watch like a lot of like just independent films that go straight to video. So in 2017, I watched one with John Berthal called Sweet Virginia, and Chris Abbott. She was the cinematographer. This also, if you've never seen Escape at Denamora, which was Ben Stiller's first show that he did on Showtime. She was also the cinematographer for that. But this is her first time directing, and you would not have known, although that's a debate about like the split between directing and cinematography because it's kind of one and the same. But still, this is, as far as I know, the first thing she has directed, and it was great. Also, the episode is written by Dan Erickson, and I think that's why the vision of this episode might have been so clear because it's actually written by him. So you can tell that this was like a major fork in the road for him. He was like, okay, like obviously the writing team will build to this point, but once we get to this point, I know exactly where else we're gonna take it. So yeah, just to talk a bit more about this episode, what I loved about it is obviously the cinematography, but also the color grading. The beginning when it was grainy, it looked like a 1970s like romance film, and then became like bright and industrial as like they moved apart. The editing was amazing. I didn't capture who the editor was, but whoever edited this episode, it was amazing too. A lot of scenes blend into each other seamlessly. Like it was just wonderful. And just the story itself. And I think for me, this is like definitely one of the most impactful Severance episodes. And this is where we can jumpstart our discussion with this because previously I thought what Lumen was doing was like unethical at best. Now we see what they're doing is evil, and I'm gonna start this. I'm gonna toss this out before we, jump into the discussion. Where I live now, down the street, there is a marker for where in the late 1800s, early, basically medical things conducted on women that are unspeakable, but there's a marker there to kind of like not commemorate that, but to bring awareness to like this was done back then, and this immediately made me think of that. Like I said, I thought it was unethical, but this is just Lumen is just plain evil. So yeah, we'll jump start the discussion there. Now that we know a bit about what they're doing with Gemma, like yeah, how do you feel about it?
No.
There was a lot of things that happened, of course, right? You like the physical torture because the dentist sucks. Like nobody likes the dentist. Like he said, it's awful. And outside of the birthing suite, or what is it called, birthing, whatever it is, to me, I think that is the most sinister thing. Like I could not fathom having a consciousness only to deliver or to give birth. Like that is a very, I don't want to say traumatic because the payoff is so great, but it's a big deal. Like it's a lot happens. And I couldn't imagine giving birth and then waking up hypothetically and then doing it again or being in labor. Like that's torture. And outside of that, the dentist is what brings that to mind too. Like, you get a filling or you get a cleaning and it's like, even if they give you anesthesia, it's still annoying, right? So she is begging him to give her a break. And he's smiling like, oh, no. It's been 6 weeks. You've had a break. She's like, well, I haven't had a break. And the fact that he wouldn't give her even just to settle her mind a little while to rest, it's just like they, again, don't see them as people. And it made it clear that they're trying to put her through, I guess, like the most stressful situations to see if she has any memory recall at all. That's what I'm getting from it.
Yeah.
Like the
And
most stress you can have.
Yep. Because that's what I was, as the episode went on, I was like, oh, the dentist. Oh, this turbulent flight. And there's the callback of like, oh, you hate writing thank you notes. And then her hand is just like, she can't write anymore. And he's still making her write. And it's like all of these things that like she either hates or, most people would like hate. It's like, that shit's diabolical. Like that is some like 2025 real life government stuff.
And then plus two, in the fact that he's there every time only adds to it because You think if you're going through some kind of trauma that you remember the person too, if he's always there. Like, but she has no reaction to him other than just visceral hate because he just has one of those faces.
God, man, that guy, they picked a very good actor for
They
that,
did.
because the
Yeah.
minute I saw him, I was like, you have a very punchable face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I immediately saw him, and also like I think the actress's name, the nurse Sandra Barnhart. Like whenever I see her in shows, I was like, oh, we about to be on some bullshit now. But yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
immediately saw them. I'm just like, this is not going to be good. So yeah. Also, another thing I want to talk about with this episode is like what we thought we knew and what we know now, and the reason I say that. And I want to save like Mark and Gemma's relationship like towards the end a little bit, but basically what we thought we knew versus what we know now in regards to what macro data refining is. Because I think we now see enough to and once again, that's that clever thing where they give you something, like they kind of like show you something, but then they're like, showing you this is only going to lead to more questions, because we kind of see that macro data refining is like macro is very tiny, because like actually there's a much larger job that's being done, and it's so the refiners are being refined. So what do you think? Yeah, what do y'all think about like that reveal? Because like that was like crazy to me. I was like, oh
I was like Lumon is always watching. Like, no
yeah.
matter what, like Lumon is just always like they have. I never even thought about like, oh, they're watching them through the screens. Like that never even crossed my mind until the zoom out.
Yeah.
Speaking of watching, I'm jumping way ahead because I don't want to forget it. They had to be watching them at home too, right? Because if they weren't watching them at home, how would he have known to do the whole "I love you" and her ignore it? And then he says, "I said I love you," and she said, "I love you too." If you recall, she did the same thing to Mark right before she left.
So that was gonna. Okay, we could jump into that now, because
Sorry.
I was going to bring up. No, no, no. I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to ask a question in regards to that, in regards to the severance process. So, and this is another thing that once again is unconfirmed, but I kind of think it's what's happened. The severance process is very invasive. Like obviously there's a chip in your brain, and we thought like it splits your consciousness, but obviously I feel like the severance process is also storing your memories as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
I think that's
Mm-hmm.
very plausible that that chip is also kind of like storing your memories, possibly saving them to a cloud, whatever you want to call it. Because yeah, there were a lot of moments that they were able to replicate in Gemma's life, basically almost a one-to-one comparison. And I seriously doubt she just sat down and gave them all of that. I think
Mm-hmm.
that was probably things that they saw, that they picked out as like, okay, we're going to use these moments as the testing. So obviously, like the chip goes two ways. It creates two consciousness, but I feel like it also like your memory. Now, I guess that leads to more questions, because like, you know, like how much of does Lumen know like about your Audi on the outside? But that opens up
well,
another
well,
can of worms. But yeah.
well. The other thing with the chip that we see towards the end of the episode is like she goes into these different rooms,
Mm-hmm.
and it's almost like she's different in each of those rooms, because the
Mm-hmm.
very end where we're like, oh my god, like she's finally like done it, she goes up and she flips to Miss Casey, and Miss
Mm-hmm.
Casey is only for the severed floor, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like, so the chip is almost kind of making multiple personalities maybe as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Has to be. It has to be
Mm-hmm.
because she's like you said, only Miss Casey on the floor,
Mm-hmm.
and she was only Miss Casey when she went down the elevator. Which also makes me think too. I know we were trying to figure out if it was the elevator or if it's somebody. I think it's the elevator now. Like I think
Yep.
the
It's the
elevator
elevator.
is the thing, yeah. Because and then the reason it didn't work for Helen is because she had the block. So I hadn't considered that either. Like you said, Joe, I'm thinking just like most people, there's a separate process work and then you're innie and outie. But
Mm-hmm.
this is very obvious that there are more because she was a whole bunch of people, and him asking her, is there any room that you hate more or like more or whatever else, she can't distinguish them because she doesn't know what's happening in them. So she's really like 8 different people. She's herself and then these 6 other rooms. Oh wait, and then Casey, yeah. So
that's
there's 8, right? That's a
So
lot of.
thanks. Yeah, I was about to say thanks for bringing it back around, because I wanted to go back to the refiners that were refining the Microdata refiners, because the first time we see them, I want to ask y'all, did y'all notice that these are the clones from the Ortbo?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
The second
I
time
only
they showed
noticed because
them,
of Dylan's.
the second time they showed them, did you see that they made it a point to show us that this was when Mark had his nosebleed, but there was a chair that was empty, and it was Irv's chair.
Yep.
And I bring up Irv specifically because remember how I would always say, like, I feel like Irv has been reset or something, and I didn't have like the language for it. Is it possible that he may have been on the testing floor? Because I feel like you only see that if you've been there.
I think they kind of I think that's a very, very, very strong argument because Felicia, her name's Felicia, right? From OND, is it Felicia?
Oh, yeah.
She asked
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
She's like, that's the elevator. How do you, what do you know
Mhm.
about this? So that just, I mean, yeah. Because who else would know it other than Miss Casey? Because she
Yeah.
went to it. And if
Because
Irvin knows it, he has to have been down there before, I think.
I mean, because to me, it seems like what you're saying, Ronnie, about like the chip storing memories. I think it's also possibly storing memories from the innies too. So you have all of these
Mhm.
memories all being stored in one place. So kind of like a shared drive, I guess. And then
Mhm.
that's maybe why he's painting that elevator over and over and over again, is because like he doesn't know what it is, but there's some recollection of it. It's almost like a memory that you don't have, that you don't think ever happened, but it really did.
It gets
Mhm.
unlocked. Like a song or a
Yep.
smell or something, and it unlocks a memory.
Yep.
I think he has to have been down there. I'm with you. Either he's been on
Because
a testing floor, or like I said, he was a doctor or something, and he was taking stuff
Mhm.
down there.
why would Drummond be rifling through his belongings while he's at Bert's? Why would Bert
Mhm.
invite him over? Why would Bert like be giving him these sinister looks and stuff like that? There's more to that, and I think we're gonna get it at the end of the season.
Well, I mean, there's
No,
another reason.
absolutely no.
Bert.
Yeah. I was about to say absolutely.
I know about that one.
Yeah.
I mean, there's another
Once again,
possibility.
this is pure conjecture. So um, if we are to believe that Irving was possibly on the testing floor and went through like an earlier version of this, because obviously whatever Cold Harbor does is going to be revolutionary. So maybe there was like a previous version, and this is like the more refined version. I could see a scenario where Bert was his doctor. Bert was his tester.
It's very possible. It's
You
very,
know
very
that? Oh
possible.
my god, that makes so much sense, because what's the doctor's name? Dr. Bard or Broad or something like that? Braun, I think.
Yeah, I think
He's
it's wrong.
in love with Gemma.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's 100%
100%.
like in there. He's wearing that. I loved. I know.
Stupid
I don't.
soda.
Yes, I was like, that's comedic relief, but that is also a sign of how far this man has taken this.
Yeah, it's Dr. Mauer, and he didn't have to make
Yeah.
her say "I love you." Like it's like he wanted to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think that was a part of the test. I mean, it sure is a part of the test, but I think he also wanted to hear it.
Yep. No,
Which
that
again,
that was personal.
I'm gonna say it one more time, and I know I keep saying it. It's Dollhouse. It is the show
Yeah, which is
Dollhouse,
funny
and it
because
doesn't help that she was
yeah,
Priya in Dollhouse. So it's like it's that part of it is the same, which is also probably a good reason why she's doing it so well, because she's done it before. She was great in that too. But anyway, yeah. 98%, is it? Or 96%? That's close.
96.
Yeah.
96. Yeah, almost
96,
there.
that's
Yeah.
very close. That's right there. We shall see.
Yeah, I just
The
So
I
nosebleeds
just
are
hope he
back.
keeps taking trips to the tent.
My thing with, I guess I'm still a little confused about what they're actually doing. So is MDR, are they creating these realities in these rooms? Is that what that is?
So here's what I could see being a possibility. So remember how, like I just said like 5 minutes ago, like obviously like there are maybe like a collection of memories
Mm-hmm.
of a severed person, right? So
Mhm.
what if Microdata refining, because once again you're looking for scary numbers. What if, as you're sorting that data, you are sorting out like very traumatic experiences and like that sequence, because once again like I think the numbers like almost like hexadecimal code, so like you are building a simulation based on creepy experiences of the past. So every
Are
time a
they
number
all
jumps,
refining?
you're
Are they
it,
all refining Gemma?
mhm.
All of
Well,
them? All
okay,
three of them?
so I because I went back and forth with this and I was like, okay, are they refining like memories of their own loved ones? And then I was like, no, because I don't think anyone else has that. So when I thought back on it, like Mark is responsible for getting them all through Cold Harbor. So I think they're refining Cold Harbor specifically, like
Mm-hmm.
as a team.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And because I mean, I couldn't imagine a loved one. Because Helly, who would she
Mm-hmm.
be?
Yeah,
Refining.
yeah.
So they're
So
all doing
yeah, I
okay. So it's
think
all for her.
I think what they're doing is picking out like very traumatic experiences to like build a simulation, and basically the people that are refining them are watching them, but also kind of like capturing like the data that they're recording. And once again, we know what the 6 boxes are now. They like might be like sorting into rooms, because there are 6 rooms that she
Mm-hmm.
goes into and there are 6 boxes. So that's just my hunch that they're sorting out like very traumatic experiences to like build a simulation in each of those rooms.
So with Cold Harbor being, I don't want to get into like future. Well, yes, I do. But how many seasons are we? Have we decided? Have they said? Because I know Ben's like we have an end, but it'll just go until it doesn't work
Mhm.
anymore. If we get Cold Harbor down, then what? I wonder.
Yeah, I was thinking that too, because I was like,
I mean, we had
we're at
96%. Yeah,
96. Yeah.
and they haven't let me down yet, so I have faith in them. But I'm just curious as to
I think we still
what
got
we'll
a
do.
ways to go. I think they could probably run, even if we find out what Cold Harbor is, there's still so many questions that need to be answered.
Mhm,
Like, how is Lumen this powerful? Like,
mhm.
what's going to happen with Helly and Helena, that whole switch there, Mark's reintegration process? Like, there's still like so many questions. I think we get
I know why you're making that
at
face.
least
Yeah,
two, at least
Do
two
you?
seasons.
Do
I
you?
know why
Since
you're
he
making
brought
that
up Mark's
face.
reintegration, can we get into
So
it, please?
so let's talk about it. All right. So let me give my spiel first. So this is my only negative thing about the episode is I hate when shows write a character stupid, because I can forgive you for wanting to flash stuff into his retinas because you don't know much about the severance process, or you don't know how it works. I can forgive you for saying like, hey, I'm gonna reach out to the Arteta lady, because basically I thought she was cute, but it's like, and maybe she'll remember me, so I'll reach out her to her to talk about severance, because you don't know that she's like attached to Lumen. What I can't forgive though is saying like, hey, let's call up Harmony Covell.
The lady that stole our baby.
You have to
She didn't
think,
steal.
Devin. Think.
Like she didn't steal her, sure. Like she just put her somewhere to cause chaos. But this woman lied to you for months or
Hmm.
weeks, even if it wasn't months, for days, for hours, whatever. She lied to you repeatedly. You trusted her with your child, and you want to call her to
And
help your brother?
her name and her phone is still Selvig, a
Selvig.
name we know does not attach to this person. It's like, come on.
Don't get it. Like I as And it was Devin. I think that's what pissed me off even more.
Yep.
Because
Yeah.
that makes no sense. Like, she's been the most level-headed person throughout this whole thing. And I know how people do kind of lose their shit when somebody they love is in danger. Like, she didn't know what to do. She wanted to reach out to someone. But her, of all
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
it made no sense whatsoever.
And
None.
then was like confused as to like why Rigabi didn't want to be there. She was just like, "Wait, you're just gonna leave?" Like, yes,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
am
you're on your
I'm
own.
reversing a procedure that this corporation created. Yes, I'm going to leave.
No sense. It made zero sense. Like,
You don't want to stay
none.
here while I call the police?
Like,
Right.
hey, no, just wait. They're on the way. It'll be fine. And Ragabi's like character. I am a very animated person at the time. I get excited. The way she remains calm. I'm
Mhm.
already attracted to those type people, like those type personalities, because they're so opposite of me. But I'm in awe of how she repeatedly says,
Mhm.
"Okay, well, I'll leave."
Yeah.
Sure. Like,
And she's
it's
like,
no,
you made this
she doesn't,
choice. Yeah.
even when she's angry. Yeah, even when she's angry, she's just like, Devin's asking all these questions rapid fire, and she's like, calm down.
Yeah.
I'm trying to help him. It's like her ability to focus, I think, is the most amazing thing to me. So to see somebody who's calm in this situation, she'd be a great airline flight attendant, by the way. To see somebody that's calm in this situation and is still paying attention and is still focusing on your brother, and then you freaking out, and then you want to call Harmony Cobell, like, of all people, or Mrs. Selvig, whoever you think she is, it doesn't fit at all to me. Like, at all, I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Not even a little. Like, even in her grief or hysteria, her, for the simple fact
Right.
that she took your
It's
baby,
just,
that should be enough. You should never want to talk to that lady again.
Nope.
yeah, I will say I am
I hope
glad that
Rigabi
they
comes back, though. I can't see
that
it.
Ver- no, I think she's coming back, but Vergabi also threw out a little thing that kind of confirms what we've been getting at, the fact that she was like, she's looming through it through. She was trained by them. So I think, that Wintertide
Yep.
fellowship is probably what she came through, because like that's kind of our confirmation now. So I do think it's good that they tossed that in there.
I'm just one last thing. She was really like, no, you can't leave. I can't do this without you. Why are you leaving? You mean, why am I just told you why I was leaving.
And prior
It's
to
a
You
that, she
good.
was like, "Yeah, I
It's a
my brother is in my possession now." So,
it's a
yeah,
good
he's in
take
my
on what kind of the healthcare system is kind of like in America. Getting yelled at
yeah,
and doctors
yeah,
just trying to stay as calm as possible.
I
yeah.
just can't. Anyway, okay. Let's move because I'm about to get pissed again. I really like Devin. Like, I really like how level she is. I don't understand how she's with Rickon. Like, they are so opposite, but that makes sense because opposites attract. But she just really lost it this time. Like, she's just terrible in a
Mhm.
crisis, it seems. And I didn't expect that of her.
So,
All the blood. Did that mean anything, or was it just in there in the episode?
great point to start, because I was gonna say let's
So
go
it started
through.
with the blood drive.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's cycle through Mark and Gemma's. I was about to say Lemons. Mark and Gemma's our relationship. Yeah, it starts with the blood, and I think showing that Lumen that Lumen logo just shows us that think about the great like the large like pharmaceutical like conglomerates, like, yeah, Johnson and Johnson makes your baby powder, but they also makes vaccines, and they also makes the Clorox bleach that you put in your your washer. So I think it just shows that Lumen
Baby
is
lotion and
literally
baby oil.
yeah, exactly, Lumen
It
is
touches
is
everything.
everywhere. Yeah, Lumen is like
Mm-hmm.
inescapable. Like, but yeah, the blood, lots of blood in this episode, and I think that kind of like gives us a clue into like, and I use pharmaceuticals specifically because I feel like Lumen does do a lot, but I think if we were to like step back and actually see what Lumen actually does, I feel like they might be kind of like a healthcare, pharmaceutical, wellness type company conglomerate. So I think I think obviously showing us the blood
That
shows
makes
us
sense.
they are in your body, essentially inescapable. So yeah, so I will start here with their relationship. Adam seeing Adam Scott as Mark Scout from this period really shows you kind of like how down and out Mark Scout is now, because like two different people, almost two different people.
He's literally a shell of who he used to be.
It was crazy to see that he had a personality, even.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see it in his innie, like you can see it, and you just think, okay, this is too. But like, yeah, and it adds another layer to the. We've been trying to say, well, which person is the real person, and he might just
And it
be
just goes to show
his
you
innie.
that the
Just
Riz God
affected
has
by the
always been
pregnancy.
there. The Riz has always been there. It goes to show you.
I really
It explains a lot.
Yeah.
I really liked it, and it was a little foreshadowing, I guess, for the whole like Severance series. But when they're talking about like the papers and stuff like that, and then he looks at her and he's like, "Who are you?" Instead of "Hi,
Yeah.
I'm Mark. Nice to meet you."
Yeah.
He's "Who are you?" I thought that
Mhm.
was really really nice little love too.
It was like his heart was like, hey, you got to know who this is. Like, you have
Yeah.
to. You got to figure out who
Yeah.
this is right away, because something is happening in this area and it's different. And it was almost like it's a cool, almost love at first sight type thing. If you would imagine what love at first sight is, that's what you would assume it would be, especially since it was for both of them. Like, there was an immediate attraction,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
which is
he
kind of
applied
scary.
pressure from day one. All right, I was like, all right, Mark, all right.
The jump immediately. I like it. Know what you want and go get it. You know what I'm saying? I see it. I want it.
Also, just want to mention here that Leo Tolstoy story is about basically a guy who leads a revolution. The death of shit, I forgot it. But yeah, it's a story
I
about
was
a
gonna say,
guy
of
who
course you know
leads
what that is.
a guy who leads a revolution. But so speaking of applying pressure early, I think we saw enough in this episode to know that what possibly splintered their relationship was, trying to conceive.
Yeah.
And because Mark bought a crib before they had even and it took me a second once you realize, like, oh yeah, they were talking about the crib, because we see it later in the. So yeah, that was like a box for a crib, and he bought it, and he was like, it was just on sale, but you could tell that this is something that they don't say it, but you could tell this is something that he wants, even like more so than her. Like, you could tell that he really wanted this. So yeah, like, I was kind of wondering what their thing was, because we do know that according to Ricka's book, they have like a lot of like arguments, but we see that it's about this. It's about
Mm-hmm.
trying to conceive and being unsuccessful with that, and that's what makes them grow distant.
And it's I can imagine that it is very difficult to, I guess, wrap your mind around not being able to do something that your body is made to do.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that both of them want it so badly and they can't give it to each other is probably also a part of it, adding to it, right? So it's like, it's not because when she was having her miscarriage, he was there for her. It was the moment was tough, but him being there and knowing what happened and supporting her in that moment showed how much he cares for her. And even when they went to the fertility clinic, she said, I'm sorry. And it's like, you don't have anything to apologize for, but I get why she apologized, because it's almost like, I'm sorry, my body's not doing what it's supposed to do. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I can imagine that is crushing for them. And then on top of that, not only is it not doing it, it's, even when I get this help, I still can't bring it to term, or I don't even know if she got pregnant again after that.
Yeah.
And it will make, I guess, people desperate to do whatever they can to make this thing happen, because it's almost, I guess, for them the only thing that they don't have, the reason they're not complete or whatever else.
And I
I don't know.
think, to me, when I was watching the episode, it kind of felt like he wanted it more than her, obviously, because he bought the crib and whatever. But it felt like she was just doing everything humanly possible to give him a child. Because and I think that's where they kind of started splitting off and having their arguments and their grievances with each other, was that she was doing everything and he's still like not really cool with it.
And
He's
he
not being
even
as
told her.
supportive.
He even told her to stop though. Like that, I think that may have been the real like disconnect for them.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was tough, and they were going through it or whatever else. And we'll get to those cards because that's where the cards come in. But he's just like, "Why are you doing it?" And she was like, "Well, I was enjoying it till you came and ruined it." You know. And
Well,
they were
see,
talking about how
okay, that was an interesting read. Like, so you thought in that moment he was saying like, let's stop trying the IVF process. Okay, because and once again, this is just my read, and like Joe, I'm curious to know your interpretation, but I read it as almost like an asshole thing, and like in the moment, she was like, I'm beat to shit," and he was just like, "Let's stop," as in let's stop. Let's just stop this conversation.
Yeah. I read it more as him being a dick about it and
he
not being
probably was.
sensitive enough.
I think I'll stick with my thought too because I don't know if it was the same day, but he took the crib apart after that too.
Well, I thought he
And I
was trying to
think that's
like
more like,
haphazardly put it together
oh, you
because
thought
he
he was
was
trying to put it
fucking.
together. I thought he was
At
taking it apart. He
first,
may have been putting it together. See, that's what I'm saying.
He was
Maybe I don't know.
But no, at the end, he was just like.
Yeah, just
no, he's taking it apart. No, he.
So
Okay,
it's yeah, and it's almost like that was almost like the finality of it. Like, hey, let's just stop, and to prove to you that I'm okay with let's just stop now, I'm gonna take this thing apart because there's no use for it.
Yep.
Okay, no, that
He could also have been being a dick because he's proven that he does that very well, actually. Like that's
yeah.
nothing new. He does. Can we talk about the cars though? Because I
Let's
missed
talk
that the
about the
first
card.
time too. She got them from the clinic, so they sent them
Yeah,
to her. Yeah.
because when we're recapping season 1, and once again, this is a show that says like, hey, if there is something that like might not make sense now, we'll reveal it later. I asked myself the question: is only a laminated card. Why is it so important that Dylan took it out? And also, why is it? Well, I know why it's important that he took it out because nothing goes in, nothing comes out. But why is that card so important that you do overtime on him to retrieve it? And we see why now because she got it from the clinic, and that card is a big deal. Yeah, very
That's
big
the
deal.
callback you like right there. Because I don't even know if I realized that it was the same card Dylan stole until you mentioned
I
it.
didn't
Um,
at all.
but it is. It's most definitely. But he got it from O&D. He
Mm-hmm.
steal it from O&D.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes sense because
Which
I've
makes
been
sense.
seeing when I was smoking the Reddit threads today. Somebody was in there saying that like, oh, OND is making all these things for those rooms.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
definitely
because
could be,
O&D
especially
makes the
since it's art.
paintings. They make they
Mm-hmm.
make basically anything. They're almost like the marketing communications department. They're making like the stuff. They're making the stuff that goes out to like the entire company. So yeah, they were making like stacks of like laminated cards
Mm-hmm.
to distribute to these places. So yeah, that makes sense.
So they weren't. Yeah. Now that you mention, it was a stack of them. So that means that just like they sent them to her, they could be sending them out to
Because
whoever comes to the clinic.
what I took was the IVF clinic was like a front of Lumen, and that this is how they're getting all the people, right? That's our
Yes.
read on it. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. Miss Wong was probably born from something happening in that clinic. And there are also severance, there's severed people all over the world, right? Like
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
established
all over
that.
the world. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be. So Cold Harbor is just the one that's in
Mhm.
wherever they are. It could be a Cold Harbor all over the place, everywhere.
So here's the question I want to ask, and I feel like this is probably the most critical question. I feel like I have my answer, but I feel like at the same time, I'm still like up in the air on it. So we obviously know Gemma went to the clinic. she at the table, she was like, yeah, they just like sent me this stuff. I'm like on the mailing list and stuff. And she was like, I was enjoying doing this. So clearly she has an interest in it. Excuse me. So did she agree to the testing floor, or was she taken?
I'm wondering the same thing. I'm assuming she had to give consent to Lumon to be there and to be severed. But it seems like everything else is just whatever they decided to do, which is what's freaking me out, because it's very clear she's still asking for Mark. And if we want to add it, I'm not making this up. They've implied she's been down there for at least 2 years, right?
Yep. He's moved on. He has a child now.
Yeah, he's lying, and they're lying to her. Like, I don't like that part either, because she's still very much trying to get back to Mark. So it's like it's gone from a thought process of she was just sick of him, he was being a dick, and she just moved to do this with Lumon because she couldn't deal with him anymore. That's not the case at all.
This was last resort for her.
At all. I'm assuming she thought she was going to go and do this thing and then get her body conditioned to do whatever. And they have turned it into something else, because every time she asks how long I've been there, how long is it going to be, they won't tell her. Even Miss Casey asked how long I've been down there, and they wouldn't tell her. So it's like they've pretty much enslaved her at this point. Like, at one point, there was probably consent for them to do the procedure, and after that, they just took full autonomy of her body. And that's the part that's the senator part. Because at least Mark gets to go home.
And here's exactly why I think that which is the heartbreaking part, that she like agreed to this, because she's asking, so if I do this, I get to see Mark, and it's not like, I want to see Mark. You know, like, it's like very much like, so if I do X, then the Y is like I get to see Mark. So like, yeah, it's very much like, and I think we see the natural steps of her trying this stuff because she thinks it's going to like lead back to Mark. So I think she agreed to it, but she is very much being held captive, and she's like a guinea pig for something that's quite evil.
Because let's talk about the escape, because one hell of a chair shot. Like, that was perfect form on the chair shot. And then I loved that shot of her hiding, and you can just kind of see the little lights lighting up and stuff. Like, that, just beautiful right there. But then she gets on the elevator, and we're like, yes! Like, the whole time I was like, man, she's getting out. Like, this is great. And then here come Milchick's raggedy ass running at the door. Like, raggedy hey, Miss Casey.
Yeah. Turn back. I'm like, damn, Miss Casey. What do you mean, Miss Casey?
When I heard the elevator ding, I was like, no. And then they made her go back. Just that, and then she's coming down, and she just realizes like what is happening. And I was just like,
because that's Gemma again.
Yep. And I just felt like everything in me just dropped. I was just like...
So I'm glad you brought up the elevator, because I want to ask y'all a very like specific question. Have y'all ever been at a job or a warehouse or something, and there's a freight elevator, right? And the freight elevator only goes to like a specific floor, but there's a public elevator that goes to other floors. That immediately made me think about this. That was the only place to go, because that elevator only goes to that floor and down. So that made me think that. And also, yeah, it was quite heartbreaking when she got to that hallway, and then like you see, like, and you could obviously tell like this was a big deal, because Milchick opens the door and he's like panting, like he's like breathing hard, and he's like, just turn around. And I think once again, another thing that is showing us with Severance is like, obviously Miss Casey had a connection to Mark too, because she was about to turn around, and I'm 99.999% sure she was going to ask, so where's Mark?
Yep. I agree with
that. I think so. Or somebody, anybody, because even if it wasn't Mark, she liked the people that were on that floor. You know, or Haley, or anybody else, but it still leads back to Mark. I think Milchick knew she was about to ask too, and that's why he was just like, hey, I want somebody to like... I'm wondering what will happen if they stand up, right? Because at this point, they've gotten to the point of subservience where they don't ask questions to a point. And I just want to see what happens when she pushes. I also like the fact that she doesn't like that doctor. No iteration of Gemma likes that doctor. None of her. She don't like
Not
her.
with the
None of
weak
the
ass
rules.
beard, not with the Christmas
Every
sweater, not with the
she wants to kill every version of him, and it's I love it. Every single one, even the flight
yeah.
attendant. She ain't
Even
like
the
him either.
And
She ain't
we
like
also
him
get a
either. He
clue.
about to die.
We also get a clue there that she's attempted this before because remember when I was about to say Grainer, but it's Drummond. He was like, did she like almost break your fingers?
Did she try to break your fingers? And he's there's something wrong with people who can't accept that somebody doesn't like you. And he's one of those people, and that's dangerous because I'm hoping they're watching him when he's with her in these rooms, but I'm not sure they are.
That's a theory that I saw dealing with the R word, and I was like, I don't
I hope
know.
not. Like I hope.
So I don't think I don't. So I what? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Don't forget though. Yeah, remember when he lied to her and he was like, you
Yeah.
know, your Mark's outie
Yeah.
found somebody else. Maybe you have too.
Yeah.
No,
No.
she has not. She hates you. All 8 of her
Yeah.
hates you.
So
No
yeah,
point in you.
what I was going to say is like I think there's if you're doing evil, there's like evil within evil. Like there's no right way to do a thing if you're doing evil. And I say that to say like if this were like an ethical study, his actions would be unethical. But since they are just doing a procedure that's evil, it's almost like it's kind of allowed because Drummond is even like, yeah, you like her, right? So it's almost like in no situation, if you're doing a clinical trial, like let's say you're doing a clinical trial or to like try to like do a study to find like the efficacy of like a possible like mRNA like cancer vaccine or something, and like one of your subjects, you're like, I just love you. That study is moot now because obviously like your stuff is going to be biased and it just doesn't work. But in this environment, which is like, and Joe, going back to your word that we're not going to say, like, obviously, like people who know what I do for a living, like there would be people who come to me and they would be like, yeah, my granddad was a a slave owner. He was one of the Gilverts though, and he was very much in love with one of his. I was like, he bleeped his slaves because there is no consent there. So I say that to say like in an environment where evil is being done, like White House, ethics don't matter. So yeah,
Evil
while
begets
that is
evil.
exactly while that is very bad, it's like it doesn't even matter because what they're doing is already so evil. So
Every part of it, like it doesn't have to be that for it to be bad. Yeah, you're right. Like the fact that she's there at all, even if you were taking her to a room and massaging her feet every day, it doesn't matter
yeah,
because that's not why she signed up for this.
if he snuck her out and took her to a nice restaurant, that itself would still be evil because she wouldn't have the consent to say like, and she would be So it's
And
just
she
evil
can't
all around.
stand him either. Like that
Yeah.
too. I
8
love the fact
versions
that
of
they're
her.
making it. Yeah. She cannot stand, you can tell in every part of her, even when she was a little scared of him as a dentist. Like she
Yeah.
just she don't want to be in a room with him. She don't like him. She don't want to be around him. And he's not grasping it, and it's for real. It's terrifying. Like he has convinced himself that this is love. She's just trying to break my fingers because she likes me.
Yep.
Yeah.
One of the things that I read from that scene where he's telling her that like Mark's moved on, he has a child now. Like, first of all,
daughter.
That's dirty.
Just twisting the knife.
That's twisting the knife. The other thing about that, I was thinking of it more in the terms of like the show's kind of framing of like work, like it's basically a workplace drama kind of, but it's like work or capitalism will take literally everything from you from your entire life and then still ask and want more from you. And he's telling her like, oh, Mark's moved on, maybe you found somebody else too and stuff like that, but it's like they're not going to let her go after those tests. Like I just know they're not letting her go.
No.
I'm glad you said that because I just remembered I wanted to ask y'all about him specifically saying to her when she said, "When I go to Cold Harbor, what happens?" And he said something like, "You'll see the effects of your, or you'll be reborn, or everybody
You're
will be reborn."
siring. Yeah.
Yeah. And she said, "Well, will I see Mark?" And he says, "Mark will see." No, he said, "You'll go back. You'll see the world, and the world will see you." And then she said something about Mark, and he said something kind of
Mark
like,
will
"Well,
Mark
benefit
will
we'll
see
from the
the
world
effects
you
of
see."
your
create.
work or something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Exactly. So no,
Mhm.
no, you won't get to see him. And what are they planning to do with this woman or with everybody? Like, is Gemma gonna, is he gonna, will she be one of the other people? Are these people gonna cease to
Go
exist? There's gonna be a
going back
sort
to
of new
this.
world.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell they're playing, but obviously
At least you're honest.
her best case scenario after this
Hmm.
is she remains a servant employee, which we know isn't isn't liberation because you're
Miss
still
Casey?
tied to the company. Yeah.
Well,
So
they said
that's
that
her
there are people who never leave.
that's her best case scenario. Yeah.
So she's like one of the goat people, because I'm assuming they don't leave.
I don't think the Go people leave at
They
all.
leave
Yeah.
either.
Uh, those people
But
dirty as
they're not
hell.
on the testing floor. They're also on they were on the severed floor, right? They just had to find them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they're on the severed floor. So she's down there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you said the freight elevator, man, because that makes so much sense. It's like I literally had one of those at my job where it was down there. The only thing down there was the mail
Mm-hmm.
and deliveries. And there was one elevator you had to take to get there. There was just one. That was the only way you could get
Mm-hmm.
down there if you didn't in the building.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I I'm very curious to see what we're doing still. Big picture, what are we doing? Because I
So
still
yeah,
don't know.
I wanna
I
like
still don't know.
wrap up with like two of my favorite callbacks. First of all, like episode one, Petey says, "Yeah, there's a floor where people never leave." We finally get to see it, and we see Petey might have been on the right track and known that he knew more about this than he didn't know what he was looking at, but he knew a lot. And
He
also
was getting there.
that shot of Mark when the police are at his door, he's backing away from the door. That is my favorite callback to the season one title sequence because there's a scene where you see Mark in black and he's like leaning back. So very, 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 very good work. Like so it was just great all the way through. And yeah, it's just zero notes for me. It was like very pleasing to look at, very well done. Yeah, I loved every bit of it.
I like to my child, he's 7, and they know I watch Severance, so every time they come in there and they'll look and see what it is because they're used to how it looks. So when he came in yesterday, he said, "Well, what are you watching?" I said Severance, and he was like, "Okay." And then he said, "Well, is the movie you're watching?" I'm saying, "Oh no, it's not a movie, it's a TV show." He said,
Mhm.
"Well, it looks like a movie," and I'm like, "Well,
Yeah,
you know what? It does look like a movie.
it
This
does.
part of it when they were together."
Yeah.
So the scenes with Mark and Gemma were a movie.
Mhm.
It was
Yeah.
like the story of their lives, and then it just got more crisp and
Mhm.
pristine and cold when she was, out in Gemma. And I'm like, well, yeah, now it looks like a TV show. Good observation, because I mean, I
Mhm.
saw it, of course. You can tell the difference, but it started to make more sense, and I looked at it better. I'm like, that was a really cool thing for them to do. Just like you said, it looks nice,
Yeah.
especially
Right.
since it looks like one of those older movies.
Yeah, and I do know enough about this cinematographer to know that and by I know enough I mean like I've read her bio. So she used to shoot
Y'all ain't
on
homies.
yeah, no, she's not. She used to shoot on 35 millimeter film, which kind of gives you like that very grainy look. Digital like smooths things out, especially like when you're doing like color grading, but 35 millimeter gives you a very distinct look. I'm quite sure like the early Mark and Gemma sequences were shot on film because of how it looks. I
Yeah.
think, and if so, nice touch. And if so, shout out to you, Apple, because film is very hard to shoot on, of course, because you like when you're editing film, you are splicing film. So no one wants to deal with film. So Apple, if you backed up the Brinks truck to shoot 15 minutes of an episode and film, shout out to you. Shout out to you. Great choice.
They got the money.
Yeah, they got more. Yeah, they have the money.
They got it. Thanks for using it. We'll say that. Because we know you got it, but thanks for using it. You're right.
So one final thing before we go, and I'll give everyone space to do closing thoughts as well. But I want to introduce that theory that I've kept in my back pocket, and instead of like going through the theory, I'm just gonna like make an observation which will allow your mind to go to the theory. I'm just gonna say Gretchen is a dispatcher.
No.
Gretchen is a dispatcher. That's all I'm gonna say. Lumon is everywhere. Lumon is
a dispatcher. She is. So we're 100. We're buying the fact that there was an actual accident that happened. We buy that. Like this isn't a thing that they said.
No.
We're saying that there may not have been an accident at all, and that somebody made it seem like there was an accident because I could just call you and say there's been an accident. Can you go to this man's house and tell him there was?
They are body snatchers.
It feels like
Gemma thought she was about to go to a 1-2 hour thing. Probably.
And it turned into 2 years. She invited him though. And he declined.
So there are times where like I am going to see like for instance when I went to see The Irishman like in Sidewalk, and I know it's a 4-hour movie. I asked my wife, I was like, "You want to come with me?" She was like, "No." Okay, cool. Sometimes you ask knowing they're gonna say no.
It's called offer decline. I do it all the time. Do it all the time. And it always freaks me out when they say yes, because I'm like, what? You sure?
I mean, I would have been thrilled if you said yes, but
it's like me offering my child vegetables. Hey, you want some of these green beans? And he says yes. What?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
So, yeah, I just want.
Oh no, Gretchen! I don't want you making all of my friends evil. You've made Gretchen potentially evil. You've made Bert potentially evil. But Gretchen, is it possible Gretchen doesn't know?
Maybe. I think
that's plausible.
I think it's just that may be one of the callbacks that we're talking about.
Okay, I mean, we still have to figure out why these people were assigned to her anyway, though. So it could be because there's a reason Dylan and Irvin, we know Helly, that's obvious, but the other two, there's a reason they were assigned to work with Mark. So
because before that it was Petey, because Helly replaced Petey. So there was a reason Petey was selected too.
And they had to select who would go in there. So yeah, that makes sense because we weren't just going to throw some random refiner. And even because you see what happens when they got the other three, that didn't work. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, because they make it a point to say they're not making progress on Cold Harbor.
Yeah, the nosebleed set us back. Free Jim until it's backwards. I want to throw that out there. Got to get my girl out of there. She's in prison.
Yeah,
like that's legit
that's what
prison.
That is.
That's prison. They tell her what to eat. They tell her what to read, what to do. I wouldn't be surprised if they take away her music and stuff since she hit. Well, no, she tried to break his fingers once. They might just let it ride. They like, look, give her some simple pleasure because he is kind of creepy. Mm-hmm. So let her keep beating him up. It's fine. Won't hurt us.
But yeah, closing some thoughts before we head out. Anymore?
What are we gonna do about Devin? Is she gonna calm down?
Possibly. Hopefully.
So Harmony, because did she actually call her? Because it looked like she called her and put the phone up to her ear, and then
it looked like the call got through, and then she made a phone.
And then she was like, maybe not. So is this how Harmony comes back?
I can see that.
Yeah, I can see that as kind of like the breadcrumb leading from it. But when you're looking, like when I was looking at it, it didn't look like she really dialed, because like when you get the shot after Ragabi's about to leave, the phone is still like she's about to dial.
On the contact, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if the call went through. Because she was like, about to talk to her, and she was just like, okay, well, I'm gone. I'm about to go. Which, again, a normal, rational person with good sense would have done. Because, like you said, Joe, it's like effectively calling the police and saying, no, just stay here. They'll be here shortly. Anyway, that's all I was wondering, Devin, really. Irvin come back next episode or no?
We gotta get some sort of resolution to that.
So, just tossing this out there, next episode is 37 minutes, so I'm curious to...
Are we getting a bear-like episode?
Look,
that's short.
I was thinking Mr. Robot / the Bear, like maybe single setting, almost even single shot episode where like something like boom, like something happens. That's what I was thinking.
But it's not even a penultimate. I would assume that would be that one. So we still got 3 episodes to go.
Yeah.
I'm kind of excited. 37
so, Joe,
minutes.
closing thoughts before we head out.
Same as every week. More questions than answers. I'm here. I'm really glad that we finally got this episode. Like I said at the top of this, like really glad we got this episode to debunk a lot of these stupid ass theories that we see online about like Mark was a drunk driver and he like killed Gemma or whatever it may be. But it's like we needed an episode like this. Like this
all
season,
of your theories are valid, people. Don't let Joe.
No, they're not.
Debunk your your theories are valid.
Only women's for International Women's Month. There we go.
So I promise final thing before I go. So because I forgot to mention this too, I was led to believe that Mark was in the car with Gemma when they had their accident. So I will say,
yes,
I didn't think he was a drunk driver, but I thought maybe they had an argument in the car and that's why he felt so much guilt. But I was one of those people because I was led to believe that he was in the car when they had the accident. I don't know why.
And that's no, but see, like that's the thing is like I had that thought too. It's like, oh, like he feels so much grief because of this, but no, it's an even worse type of grief.
Yeah, even worse because the last time he saw her, he was brushing her off. So yeah,
I don't know anything, girl.
Yeah,
I see
go
you
do
get
your
back.
little thing.
Yeah, but yeah, that's all for this week. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Watch the episode again. It's crazy what you pick up if you watch the episode again. This episode necessitates like a second watch. So make sure you watch it again. Let us know what your theories are.
One thing,
let us know what you think. Go ahead.
One more thing is like normally that Dr. Maurer thing where he's in the clinic and then normally I'm one of those people that like don't catch that on the first thing and then it caught my eye as it was happening. I was like, that's the same guy, isn't it? I was so happy that like I caught it on the first attempt.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. Because he walked by, he just kind of walked by. But he even looked at her then. Yeah, he even, when he walked by the first time, he even looked like, oh, who is that? Gemma and Mark, they got their chemistry.
Beautiful woman. But yeah.
Light them up.
But yeah, that's it for this week. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Speaking of seeing people for the last time, this might be the last time you, not forever, but this might be the last time you see me for this recap.
Are we sending you to the testing floor? Like, what the hell?
We'll be back, just not here. This is probably it for the season. Let's say that, yeah.
For the season.
This is probably it for the season.
But yeah, you have 2 great, co-hosts and they will hold it down. But yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Until next time.
Peace.